the difference between uh, the hearing that the people that are being charged under the Aliens Act and people who have nothing to do with the Aliens Act. They just came here. Maybe their country had a flood, and they came here during the flood, and we put them up and gave them housing, gave them a visa, a work visa, or a permanent work visa. And these people aren't even included. But some people do have a permanent work visa because there was something that happened in their country, and they have been allowed to stay here, on a permanent basis, but not made a resident. Okay, but not made a citizen, of the country, but made a permanent resident of the country. Okay, there's a difference, and I wanted clarity when I spoke with the Congresswoman to get clarity on the difference. The Aliens Act is for people that are involved in the drug trafficking and human trafficking and violating the laws and doing things that would harm our citizens. The Immigration Act has nothing to do with people that have committed a crime. It just has to do with people who came here. Maybe they were looking for work. Maybe they were a victim in their country of domestic abuse. Maybe there was a flood in their country, and we said, you know what? Well, we'll put you up for now until your country rebuilds itself. But then once your country is out of what's called an emergency zone, then you can return back to your country like that. So those people that are being inadvertently picked up because the sanctuary cities and the Democrats in the sanctuary cities refuse to just release the criminals first. If you just hold them in a cell and let ICE or DHS pick them up, Department of Homeland Services pick them up, you won't get a big swoop where they're grabbing people that aren't selling the drugs. But that idea, but there's a solution to this whole thing. The solution to this whole thing is for Congress to, or for the American people to vote in people into Congress that will say, you know what, no matter what country you come from, no matter what circumstances you came here under, as soon as you put your tippy toe on American soil, you're a citizen. You just have to get enough people to say that. And all of this goes away. But Congress, decade after decade after decade, refused to do that. And you have to ask yourself why. Because you know that you have illegal, we know that we have legal immigration. We know that hundreds, I think there's like 75,000 people a year are allowed into the country, and it's a long process because after you get cleared, then there's no more room for the next people because your relatives can come. And so within that 75,000 a year, it might be up to 125,000 a year that's allowed in. I'm just guessing the number, but at one point it was 75,000 a year. Back in the 1924 Immigration Act, they let in 165 a year for the purpose of working, right? But then you had to go back, and back then they wouldn't even let in Asians. So not, So now that that's changed, what are we going on and on and on about people who broke the law? Why is that being done? Why is there no distinguish between people who are being picked up under the Aliens Act, given that paper that says, here's your rights. Yes, they sent this man back to the man who was living illegally in Maryland. He is not a Maryland resident. He is a resident of whatever country he came from. But he is not a United States citizen. He nor the other people. These people are not United States citizens. But they were allowed to come here and they were allowed to work here. Now we're only talking about those people. We're not talking about everyone. Yet and still, you have people out there conflating the two. Why are you mixing the two? Is the question. We're not talking about people that have been allowed to stay in the country. We're not talking about people even now that are in the country and still in the process of being processed to become legal citizens. We're only talking about first the people who broke the law, and then after that the people who did not break the law, people who do not even have a speeding ticket, but they lost in the immigration court. Her answer to me was yes, they should still now be given a chance to go all the way up to the Supreme Court. Then what is the purpose of having the Immigration Act? You just need to get rid of the Immigration Act. There's no purpose in having it no more. So that when enough people come to this country, and they can come from all over everywhere, the purpose of the Immigration Act was not to allow everybody to come here. So the fact that they come here and everybody keeps saying Immigration Act, which was specifically for people to come here for to help us with our economy, and unfilled jobs, not jobs that are available where people are trying to get them to pay a better wage. These are just unfilled jobs is what these people were supposed to fill. But that has changed. And the reason it has changed is because you allow them to come here, you allow them to work here, you allow them to be schooled here and educated here. But on what grounds are the people here after that, when they know they're here temporarily, and temporary becomes 20 years, and while you're here the 20 years you have kids and you're like, man, I don't want to take my kids back to where I came from. But that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to take your kids back to where you came from. You're supposed to learn here, take that knowledge back to your country and switch out your government, because America is not going to be great after a while. And this is, black people knew when he said the first time, let's make America great. We know what he meant. We wanted to get y'all out. But y'all vote against our interests, but y'all want us to vote with y'all for your interests. And so we're not going to do it anymore. Yes, you still have some black people going along with the Democratic Party, but I'm not going to be one of them. That's why I'm having difficulty right now filling out this to see who is going to run against the other person. Because all of the Democrats, for some reason, they don't love their country anymore. To me, they don't love their country anymore. I don't understand why. I don't know why. And I don't really care why. I don't really care why. Because it's just, Bonnie Watson-Coleman said, they're paying taxes. No, you're not paying taxes when we are spending, I believe they said, just New Jersey alone, that we spent $63 billion on them, but they contributed to taxes, or maybe they contributed 63 million, I think it was. They contributed $63 million to taxes in the state of New Jersey alone. But the state of New Jersey alone has spent, it's in the billions. It's in the billions. It far outnumbers the $63 million that we collected in taxes from you, right? From working for state and local programs and to help the state and local budget. All that money goes to the local budget. That money that you are working, because they're giving you ITIN, individual individual tax ID numbers, because you can't have a social security card, so you're not paying into the federal government. You're only paying into the state and local taxes. But that was to deflate the cost of having you in the state and not being able to get any more money from the federal government, because the federal government, the coffers ran dry. It tapped out. Where in the federal government could you get this money? Well, when you spent money on the residents that were here and the illegal migrants that were in your country, the law is set up that you put in a request and you get the money back from the Immigration and Nationalizations Act, and they reimburse the state. You're not going to pretend that you're an American citizen and you don't know that we get all our money from the federal government, and then the federal government gives it to the state, and the state administers the money. Let's not pretend you don't know that. The only state money that we collect is for the schools. And that's another thing, that we needed money for the schools. Right? We need money for the schools because the law said that since they're here, they have to be educated, and you can't discriminate because of what country they come from. So you've got that. You've got everything. I don't see the need to have, and they don't have to be citizens according to Congress to have the same rights as an American citizen. So we don't even need the Immigration Act anymore, because as soon as they enter soil, according to these people, they are American citizens and they get the full protection of the United States Constitution. No, that is breaking the law. And any Democrat who says that to me, I already know not to vote for them. That's why I think I'm going to leave this blank. I have the rest of it filled in, but down here, you can do a write-in. But I got to call the rest of these people and see what their stance and their position is, because no, I'm going to ask them the same question that I asked Congresswoman Bonnie Watson-Coleman. And I'm probably going to get the same answer. And I already know YouTube, they monitor and censor my channel. And they take my signal and send it off to wherever. But this is important. If you're an American, and if your parents came here, even if they came here illegally, but they eventually became American citizens by going through the immigration process, that is a long process, because you have to learn American values. You have to learn English. You have to fill out an application. There's cost involved. So it is a long process. It's not about filling out an application, getting it stamped, that you're an American. No, it's a process. That immigration, it should be shut down for 10 years. If people are saying they're confused about what law people need to have due process under, and you don't understand that when people walk in to the country, if they're not stopped at the border and sent back, because according to y'all, they should have due process, the ones that just walked over here. But if you walked over here and you made it further into the land, and you worked and you got a home and you got a car and you got a job and you had a baby, y'all are citizens just like us. You don't need to do anything more. You're citizens just like us. Only in the United States are we doing that. And that says that the people that are in office right now, they really don't care about American citizens. That's what that tells me. And it's because we're being replaced. Have a good day. What is this? Okay.